some people literally don't know until they're adults that they grew up poor.
Yeah.
They don't know because of how well their parents handled it. I mean, that's such a great example. It goes to what are your needs and wants. And, you're not running around saying, we're poor, we're poor, we're poor. You're looking at how can I create a wonderful, important experience? What matters?
Yeah. Hello and welcome back to the Bombshell Business Podcast. I'm your host, Amber Hurdle, and today we are going to get into I'm going to get up in your business with today's guests, and we are going to talk about money and the power that it has and the power that you have over your money and all kinds of things money. So no announcements today. We're going to get right to it. So I want to tell you about Mikelann Valterra. Mikelann is an author, keynote speaker, and money coach who helps women transform their relationship with money to create a life they love. For over 20 years, she has been a thought leader in the field of financial psychology. Her strong background in emotional intelligence, paired with her practical money strategies, enable her clients to consciously design their life while escaping financial stress and anxiety. When she's not working with clients, you can find Mikelann on the dance floor, indulging her love of Argentine tango. Welcome to the show, Mikelann.
Oh, hello from Seattle. Thank you for having me. I love it. I love your show.
Well, thank you so much. It's because I have awesome bombshells and bombshell boys as guests. Otherwise, it would kind of just be boring. So I appreciate you being a part of the show and serving our listeners. There's so much to get into here. So much. But before we dive into like kind of some of the more hardcore questions, that actionable content that our bombshells love to walk away with, how did this become your topic?
Yeah. Who the heck am I? And what is this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so Amber, I'm a money coach. And, honestly, a lot of people, I still don't know money coaching exists because, it used to be you could see a financial planner if you had investments or a credit counselor if you were dealing with debt, both really great, important fields. But most people really have both. They're trying to deal with the debt issue in life and credit. They are obviously looking at net worth. And neither of those fields is really strong in dealing with the emotional side of money, the psychological side of money. So money coaching arose to really fill this gap. And, half of what I do is super practical, right? Like I teach people how to plan their spending and, deep, juicy stuff that we'll get into, in terms of like, let's learn how to manage our cash flow, right? Which is not about investments. It's about living
Day to day
today and this month and knowing I'm not stressed about money, right? But money coaching also looks at and really honors the emotional side of money, because anyone that says money is not sometimes emotional is probably a robot, right? I mean, this is a big topic. And so money coaching really kind of dives into, yes, we're going to learn how to, touch our money and plan it and create that nourishing spending plan that I love doing with clients. But we've got to be able to talk about the fact that, we have a lot of history as individuals around our money journey.
Yeah, so much so. And you and I have both talked about this pre-show. I'm obviously, my audience knows that I'm a former teen mom. You've been a single mom. That's a lot of pressure right there. The psychological component of money when you are the only provider and there's no one to have your back. And especially when you're young and you don't know any of the things, like that kind of roots you into a maybe difficult relationship with money or a strained relation. Like it's not this abundant, flowy, like manifestation thing that you see on Instagram all the time. It's like almost like choking and suffocating. So is that a common theme for women?
Yeah, well, it is. And, just to also throw out the obvious, half of your listeners are divorced. I mean, we all know that the divorce rate is at 50%. I mean, give or take. Depends on what article today we're reading, right? But, it's huge. And so many of us don't have someone else that we can automatically rely on when it comes to money. And hey, money and couples, that's its own huge topic, right? So, but I know that for me, both have being in relationship with a beloved and being single, I have learned how to manage my money so I'm not stressed. And it's why I feel so passionate about it, Amber, because the method that I use to plan my cash flow, honestly, it's so I'm not stressed about money. It's
Yes.
so I don't have to think about money all the time. And it's why I'm so passionate about teaching it to other women so that they can, it's not just not be stressed, but if we can learn how to manage our cash flow and really look at our money, you can use money to create the life of your dreams. So it's like going all the way from not being stressed to being happy and creating the life that you love. But this level of money personally doesn't get talked about a lot. It's usually only about investments or debt,
Right.
but honestly, we live in the present. We live here in the month, in the year. And so we have to be able to get our arms around money and not be stressed out about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit something that is more just like kind of like right where you are. And um, I was with a really dear friend last night, and we were joking about that. There's such a longer story that I probably can't get into at this point, but some of the choices that I've made. And she was like, yeah, but Amber, you do anything fabulously. And I was like, yeah, if all I could afford, first of all, is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on like white, you know, whatever store brand bread, that would be the most fabulous peanut. Like I would cut it special. I would serve it beautifully. I would have a candle next to it. I would pour my milk in a wine glass. Like whatever you have, wherever you at, it's like, if you appreciate it and you elevate the experience, then it's not like, oh, all I can afford is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I mean, like it's also some perspective in
Absolutely.
there.
Well, yeah, it's the attitude of gratitude, right? Because abundance is really an internal state, and I know people often talk about abundance when it comes to money, but I think what gets missed is true abundance really is internal.
Yeah.
And you just described it. You can create a feeling of abundance, wherever you are. So a lot of it really is your mindset.
Yeah, I love that. So you've talked about building a life you love, and you talked about cash flow. And one of the things that you do with your customers is create a personalized spending plan so that they can use that as a tool to drive to the life that they love and park there. So, I
Right.
mean, can you walk us through that process?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So the number one thing I hear when people call me is they're tired of not feeling in control of their money, followed by they're tired of being stressed and anxious around money, right? So, budgeting gets a bad rap, and a lot of people just hate the word, they just hate the word. And I think part of
It
it
feels
is because
restrictive.
it's restrictive. Yeah, exactly. You say the word budget, and half the people hear diet,
Yeah.
right? It's okay, we're all dieting on money. Who do I owe? What's left over for me? And now we're living life on leftovers, which totally sucks. I mean, so I hate the word budget myself, right? It's really different than what if we create a nourishing spending plan that is built off of your values, that's built off what you need, what you want, what you desire, right? It's like architecting your life. We all want to create a life that we love, but a spending plan, in my opinion, is one of the most practical and fast tools to actually make it happen,
Yeah.
right? So just imagine sitting down and saying, okay, let's look at the spending plan for March. And, if you're a business owner, it's so helpful because a spending plan in your personal life actually tells you how much money you need to make,
Right.
right? And how much money you want to make. And what
Yeah.
there's a lot of levels that you can go in. You can look at it at the month level so that you're never stressed and you always know that you're okay. This month I know that my needs are met. I'm enjoying my life. I'm planning, for me, I'm planning all my Tango. I'm planning, time, money, and energy are all connected. But when you're looking at an annual spending plan, it's even more exciting because that's really telling you about, let's look at how much money we need to make. Let's look at our values. Let's look at our lifestyle.
Yeah.
Whenever people say to me, hey, can I afford fill in the blank? Can I afford a car? Can I afford another horse? Can I afford to go to Hawaii? those types of lifestyle questions are always answered at the level of an annual income and spending plan, right? That's where we really get into creating the life that we love, that's in balance with our relationship to money.
So good. Yeah. And it's an act of freedom. It's not like when I feel suffocated, it's because I haven't addressed my plan. But the minute I get in there and I do all the things, I'm like, oh, look at me, I'm good. Like I'm great. And this is like, we're moving in the right direction. And, it is a feeling of freedom. Whereas I feel like if you look at it as a budget and something restrictive and you avoid it, you're held hostage by the unknown.
Right.
There is no freedom in that.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. Because I think the shift that I want people to make is it's your money. Where do you want
That's right.
your money to go? You want to ultimately feel in control. And it's interesting when I first start working with people and they start learning, how to look at their money, how to look at where it's going. They very quickly get used to feeling in control. And then if something happens and they kind of drift away and they go on vacation or whatever happens, they fall off the money horse and they go back into the money fog, they'll say, oh my gosh, Mikelann, that anxiety feeling I used to feel all the time about money came back and I'd almost forgotten it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's something so powerful about feeling financially clear. It's super empowering.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about money is, and I have to remind, like, Liz, I pre-call listeners, bombshell. Told Mikelann that as a teen mom, money's always been a tough topic for me. And I've done the work. I've like therapy. I've done hypnotherapy. I've had a money coach. I've done Financial Peace University twice. I've done the debt snowball. I'm debt free now. Like it's not that I haven't done the work. And yet that fear is always right behind me. And it's like, if I tilt one way, it is in my face. And that can happen very easily under stress, under duress, it just comes back because it comes from such a deep core wound of not having enough, of working 4 jobs, of not sleeping 2 nights out of every week, of feeling like a failure, of not being a great mom. Like all of that oozes up, and that's around money. And so, like, what would you say to a woman like me who has just all that gnarly stuff wrapped up around the dollar signs?
Yeah. So, and I know all the type of programs you're talking about, and there's, oh my gosh, you've done so much amazing work. I always want people at some point to go into their money autobiography and really go back into looking at their money story, because what you're talking about, Amber, is your money script, your money programming, if you will, your really early stories, right? Like just as a quick example, because I know unfortunately a lot of your listeners will identify with this. If you grow up hearing your parents fight about money, like if we go way back before anyone is the teenage mom, you're back, you're 7, right? If you're hearing your parents fight about money, chances are a yet little kid may not be super sophisticated, obviously, about money, but they know it's important. They know it buys food. They know it's a big deal, whatever this magic mystical substance is that mom and dad are fighting about, right? And so there are these very early beliefs that form that say, okay, money, whatever it is, makes mom cry. Money causes conflict. Money is bad. Don't talk about money. But some of this stuff is so early, right? It's laid down so early that it is very unconscious. We don't realize it. And now here we are, adult, powerful, amazing women. And the moment money comes up in our, new relationship, maybe we feel sick. We feel icky. We feel like, oh my gosh, do not talk about money. This will somehow hurt the relationship. Right. And then of course that ends up causing more problems.
Right.
So a lot of it at some point, besides all the skills, which are obviously important, really is about looking at what is our money story. And there's a lot of elements to our money story, Amber. There's part of the reason why money stories are so flippin' complicated is developmentally who we were as little girls is really different than who we were as teenagers.
Yeah.
And that's really different developmentally than who we were as young women. And so whatever happened in those 3 different chapters of your money story really impacts you as an adult woman. And so all three areas, all three time periods of your life need to be explored. And we need to look at like, what are the messages that came from when you were little, right? Because you know a lot of the trauma from when you were a teenage mom. Oh my gosh, right? But it's
Let me tell you what, my
layered.
daughter has no problem earning or spending money. So I did not pass that down to her.
Well, and that's the interesting, and I'm not surprised because a lot of times we tend to reenact or rebel against how we were raised. And again, I'm not saying it's conscious, but it's always interesting what happens with from kind of parents to kids.
Yeah.
But there's just so much layered in because your teenagers were layered in to a lot of earlier stories from, when you were 7 or 8. So it's why it is so helpful to go there and look at it, because when people say money's not emotional, like I said, they're robots, and that's just not true.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the only saving grace for Brittany is she, was quite aware of how broke we were, but we still lived fabulously. We still took vacations. We still all of her friends could come over. Like when you talk about your financial priorities, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to buy a couch off of, the newspaper at the time, because there was no internet going on. I'm going to buy a couch off the newspaper instead of a new couch so that I can always make sure that when Brittany's friends come over, there's stuff for them to do. You know what I mean? Like there's those lifestyle choices, but she saw us go from nothing to very abundant and saw that just takes hard work. It takes commitment. It takes mindset. And I mean, that's the only thing I can think of for her. Because Lord knows she was born into poverty.
Well, but here's what's interesting, because I've worked with so many different people's money stories, and some people literally don't know until they're adults that they grew up poor.
Yeah.
They don't know because of how well their parents handled it. I mean, that's such a great example. It goes to what are your needs and wants, and you're not running around saying we're poor, we're poor, we're poor. You're looking at how can I create a wonderful, important experience? What matters?
Yeah.
What matters?
Yeah, that's
right. And it's really not about the money.
Yeah, it's about the energy that the money is applied to.
Yeah. Are we listening to our kids? Are we loving our kids? Are we meeting their basic needs? They don't need the designer couch. They need a space that you create for them so they can connect with their friends.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of on that same vein, you say that there's 3 main types of money personalities. So I love psychoanalytics. I love personality assessment. So I'm very interested to hear and understand what those 3 money personalities are.
So, I mean, it's a big subject, but they're basically spenders, savers, and avoiders.
Okay.
We want to just kind of cut to it with a laser, right? But I think that what's a little bit juicier is if you look at what motivates people around money, right? So people that often identify as being a money spender, because that can sound almost negative. There's nothing wrong with being a spender. You just don't want to be way, way out at the edges and being this extreme overspender.
Sure.
Often what's underneath that personality type is a strong desire for freedom. That's what it's all about. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. No one's the boss of me, right? These personality types tend to be super fun, super generous. They also tend to often be self-employed. They don't want to punch a time clock, right? Versus a money saver personality, it's all about security.
Yeah.
Right? What's really important is I don't want to be stressing. I want to know I got money in the bank. I want to know I've got a roof over my head. These personality types tend to be a little bit more risk adverse. And if we're self-employed, we better have a lot of savings to not, throw up from the stress of the crazy money roller coaster that can happen when you start a business, right? Yeah. So, but what I think is interesting is, it used to be that people thought you're either spender or saver. You're either motivated by freedom or you're motivated by security. There's a ton of truth in that, Amber, but there are some personality types that are truly just avoiders, and they have a hard time.
Don't participate in their own financial picture.
Yeah, bingo, right? And so when they're taking all these, fun and cute little money personality quizzes all over the internet, they can't ever figure out what they are. They get all these weird answers. And, a lot of times they're the ones that were raised in families that had a lot of stress or chaos around money. And so the answer as an adult is don't touch it. Don't talk about it. Don't go there. Don't look at it.
Put your head in the sand.
Put your head in the sand because that's safe. And so they're not really the spender or the saver. They're hoping that someone else will kind of handle the whole thing for them.
Mm.
So, and there are so many different personality types around money. It really, to me, goes to what's the underlying motivation. Because some people are very, very motivated by love, by power. It's not all about just freedom or security. Victoria Collins wrote some wonderful books on, money and motivations around money. And Olivia Mellon has written some wonderful books about money personality types. If you're motivated by power, that is not a bad thing. People tend to think of it as the, kind of the CEO, almost negative money personality type. But honestly, if Mother Teresa took a money personality test, she wouldn't score as a spender or a saver. She would score as the point of money is power.
Yeah.
And the point of money is to take your vision and move it forth in the world.
That's
so
how I see money. It's power.
Yeah. It's not about the money. It's about what you can do with it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. And I'm usually very, not personally, but professionally, when I travel to speak, I'm like Southwest, Courtyard Marriott, Uber, whatever. But I had 2 back-to-backs within 24 hours, and I had to fly somewhere that I wasn't familiar with. And it's not known for being the safest major city in the country. And so I was like, you know what? I'm flying first class on a different airline. I'm hiring a black car to pick me up. So I know that it is a vetted, licensed driver, and that they're going to take me the, 40 minutes or whatever to my hotel safely in potentially winter weather. Like,
right.
And when I got in the black car and I just got off the first class plane, I was like, this is what money does. It just gives you freedom and it gives you power. And I was able to create this experience for me that mitigated all of the less desirable parts of this trip. And that was the power that I had.
Well, those are positives.
Yeah.
Right. Those are positives. I mean, sometimes money as power can get a bad rap. It's because people are using kind of that traditional masculine hierarchical.
Like I have power over somebody, not power over my experience.
Bingo, right? And really, you're trying to take control of your experience, and you're creating the experience that you want, and you're using money to create the life that you want. I mean, you're ultimately in the driver's seat, and this is super, super positive. You don't want to be, there's nothing wrong, again, with being a spender or a saver, and ultimately we're all a combo, right? And you don't want to be an extreme saver, because then you're not using your money to enjoy your life.
Mm-hmm. You can't take it with you.
You cannot take it with you. As near as I can tell, you cannot take it with you.
Yeah. So I know there is, obviously we've talked about financial anxiety, and then like when you stick your head in the sand, you get there a lot faster than just like looking the boogie monster in the eyes underneath the bed actually gives you a sense of power and control that just wondering if it's down there. So what is money fog? What is that? And then how is that causing anxiety in the lives of your customers?
So, the APA, the American Psychological Association, has done a lot of studies on money anxiety, and really has shown that women suffer from financial anxiety almost double than men do.
Wow.
Right. And so it begs a lot of questions of what's up with that, all of it. And I think a big piece of it is what I call money fog. And so money fog means that if I'm in a money fog, there could look a lot of different ways. But for example, I don't know how much money I need to make. I don't know where my money is going. I don't know what I spend. Perhaps I don't know what I owe in debt. I don't know what my net worth is. I know, right? I saw that reaction. I don't know how much I need to be saving to retire. I don't know, right? And the dilemma with being in a money fog is it's like driving in a fog. If I'm driving in a fog, it's not a matter of, am I going to hit something? It's a matter of, when am I going to hit something and how bad is it going to be, right? And so money fog, the not knowingness of money, not knowing how much money I need, not knowing, am I going to be okay? If I buy the tickets to Hawaii and I do this big clothing shop, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be okay with my mortgage? I mean, all of this, like, it just brings up this, again, icky feeling that almost often turns into free floating anxiety. We almost get used to feeling in the back of our head this low level sense of anxiety around money, and we don't even think about it. We get so used to it. So it is big. And then, the bigger question, or who knows what the bigger question is, but why do women suffer from it more so than men? Oh my goodness,
we could unpack that in a whole different episode.
That's a huge question. But I will say this: women have half the net worth that men do. So we're not making it up. There are real reasons why we are stressed around money, right? I mean, we are modern women. We know that we need to be self-supporting. Man, it's not a financial plan, all that good stuff, right? But we don't have as much saved as men do in general. It doesn't matter whether we're talking retirement, it could be just saved for vacation. So there's that is very, very stressful, and we're shifting it. But historically, as women couldn't even get a credit card in their own name until 1975, right? I mean, my mom is only 20 years older than me. She was never told that she needed to make enough money to support herself, right? So the messages that we've gotten around for as women, I think we forget how much has changed so quickly. And so we're like running to catch up. No wonder we're stressed. So we are amazing. We're super strong. I mean, when I think about all the guests that you've had, like talk about bombshells, and 20 years ago, it was this super, super different conversation.
100%. So much. I grew up kind of strange too. Again, I grew up in Southern California, Orange County, and I babysat for two of the Rams football players when they were still in Orange County, and very regularly. And then I also had another family that I babysat for who my children are named after, Brittany and Derek. Like, that's how much time I spent with these kids. And I made a lot of money for a junior hire, like a lot of money. And so it's interesting that, like, to me, like, obviously I know to save now, and debt became a big thing for me once I came out of the shadows of being a teen mom and a very young single mom. But the one saving grace for me has always just been like, no matter what the picture is, I can just earn more. Like, that's it. Like, oh, I've got debt I've got to pay off. Well, I'll just work harder. I will just put in more, like, whatever. I will figure out how to, instead of just making this amount of money, I'll change things so I can make that amount of money. And so, like, it's not necessarily always about like fear or, and I guess what I'm trying to do is encourage, bombshell, whatever situation that you're in, you can earn your way out of it. I don't care how much it is. If everyone saw the amount of debt that I had and just the screwed up financial picture that I had, my credit score was like a 475 at one point, 475. It's like 815 now. People are like, you're like, have a credit of a dead person. I'm not saying that to beat my chest, because again, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've worked really, really hard, but I think the saving grace is like just earning power.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I mean, money is fuel, right? And we can use it to get out of any situation that we're in. And there's nothing that feels better than that self-created financial stability of earning our own money, 100%. And you also don't want people to feel like they get locked into a money treadmill where they build this huge, expensive life, and then it's almost like condemn themselves to having to make so much money. Because I know that, particularly with business owners, and I mean, I'm a business owner, I'm always also looking at designing my life and my schedule and my time. And I really do ask myself the question, how much money do I need to earn this year? How much do I want to work this year? Right? Because I'm not going
to work that hard. If I'm good with this, I'm not going to kill myself and not have good quality of life.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally. And so I think it's also why it's really important to get into the emotional side of money, because so many people are spending money based on the fact that they felt deprived in an earlier time in their life, whether it was as children or as single moms or whatnot. And so we're spending money often as adults in a very unconscious way, because we're trying to fill this hole. We're trying to fill this void that we're not quite naming. It's like we're spending money on wants, but we're not really naming what's the underlying need. And my very first money coach, Karen McCall, oh my gosh, you talked about this a lot. This whole, you can never, ever spend enough if you don't really name what you truly, truly need. Ooh, so I'm spending on the wants. It's like the example that she would give is, Here you are putting up beautiful wallpaper in your gorgeous new house. But the underlying need is you haven't fixed the electrical wiring in the house you just bought.
Yeah.
Guess what? The wire's now sticking out through the beautiful, pretty wallpaper, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you truly need in your life? Because when you name your true needs, it's so nourishing, right? And you can creatively meet needs if you take the time to name them. Like your example, like I can buy a used couch that's actually really nice that meets my needs because you took the time to say, what do I really need?
Yeah. Well, even, and I've got a whole blog post that I share a lot on my podcast because I feel like listeners hold me way up here and I like to bring myself back down to here because it's like, just because I have the microphone doesn't make me special, I promise. But everyone knows I recently was divorced and I lived in a 4,600 square foot house in a gated community, had Cabo St. Lucas in my backyard. I was on the cover of magazines. My backyard was on the cover of the Home and Garden edition of the Home and Garden Show edition of the Tennessean. I mean, it was a beautiful, beautiful home and loved it. Was very grateful for the resource to host my kids' friends and community events and all that kind of stuff. COVID happened. Obviously, that impacted my business as it impacted millions of small businesses. I was remodeling my business. And then I found out, also, I'm getting a divorce. And who saw that coming? So all of that happening, all that did was bring uncertainty into my life. And so I was like, where am I going to build? I don't even know if I want to live here anymore. Lumber has diamonds on it now, apparently, because and just the whole build a house thing just sounded crazy. I knew that it dawned on me, I own a house on a piece of property I already own. It is a manufactured house. It was double wide in layman's terms. And I was like, but I could pay that land off and I can live there for free. So I pimped my trailer. I gutted it. I put luxury vinyl plank all throughout a double wide. Yes, I did. I did signature walls with wallpaper. I ripped out the janky decks. I put new decks in. I put a roof off the back so that my ridiculous hot tub that I was able to get because of my relationship with the customer who sells hot tubs would never buy that. It was like half the value of my house. Everything that I did, every knob got changed, every lighting fixture. And then I had this 10.5 acres, this building that I'm in, I had built in a warehouse. This is an outbuilding. It looks like a storage shed from out there. And I was like, I just need a year. I need a year to figure out what I want. And I knew that this was fine for me. And people lost their minds, Mikelann. They lost their minds. They're like, I'm sorry, Amber Hurdle is moving into a what? And I'm like,
you are brilliant. You are brilliant because you created it. It's like you had this intense pressure. I mean, your life is apparently getting remodeled on top of the house with the divorce that happens, right? And here you are giving yourself space, grace, and time, and also naming what you really need. You value aesthetics, you value beauty, you value, so you were really clear, like, here's what I need to make me happy. Apparently what I don't need to make me happy is 10 bedrooms, but what I do need to make me happy is a beautiful place to be.
That's right. Peaceful, serene, have access to my creek and my enchanted forest and live here, but I travel all the time. So it's like, it really doesn't matter in the end. And then it gave me space to say, you know what? I'm building a house in Florida.
Right.
I'm going to build a house in Florida and then I'm going to move there. And if I don't sell this, then I'll rent it out. It's an asset, whatever. But that mindset would have never been there before because it would have been fear-based. I would have worried about what other people thought. You have to come to a place, and I share that story, not because I'm great, because I still get freaked out around money. I still do. But this gave me an opportunity for that not to be at the forefront of what already was shifting in my life. I didn't have to worry about money because I chose this option.
It's a beautiful story, Amber. I'm so glad you share it with all your listeners. And, it's also, we all talk about keeping up with the Joneses. The problem.
Yeah. I'm not going to use the words for children to hear in the car, but if you're watching YouTube, you can see which fingers I have up.
You can see which fingers she's got up. Yeah. No, 100%. Because it's also one of the big problems with social media, which, I kind of have a love-hate affair with, actually, just insane. But, so when people see oh my gosh, so-and-so's bringing their kids on vacation to here, this or that, we start feeling like somehow we're not enough. I mean, you know, we've all seen and heard the studies on that, right? So when you go, no, what do I need? What makes me happy? What are my values? And it, you know, again, it created space, it created grace, and also it created time, because
Time.
you likely could have gone out and bought maybe a house in between what we're talking about. You know, you could have bought the 3 bedroom or the whatever. Okay, you could, but then you'd have to work a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
hustle for the money, be back to being stressed, right? And who are you doing that for?
And
It's
then
like,
I'm no good for my customers because I'm anxious and tired and stressed all the time, as opposed to having some flow in my life.
it's
It's
flow. It's flow. You named the word. And also, what do you value? And you obviously value some of your personal time as well. You don't want to spend every minute working.
well, and the crazy thing is in my big old fancy house before, like we had guests, we had overnight guests. It's not like, I mean, I definitely had a dedicated guest room, and I have a dedicated guest room at this particular house. But I had more people stay with me here in my humble little double wide. I had a former Jaguar executive stay in that. I've had like award-winning like keynote speakers and like all kinds of people stay in my cute little honeypot that I have here. And I
Mhm.
had no anxiety around it. Everybody's like, this is so great. So what I'm just trying to say is just like that peanut butter and jelly, or, you know, whatever is whatever you have to work with, like make it be as freaking fabulous as you possibly can. And that just takes creativity and curiosity.
It does take creativity. Yeah, creativity and I love being creative with money and naming what you really, really need. You know, like I laugh at that similarities in some pieces of of your story, because I had the smallest house of all my friends,
Mm-hmm.
right? And yet I love home, I swear, more than all of my friends. And so I was like, okay, I got like the beautiful gas fireplace, and I love my art, and I've got the beautiful sofa, and I've got, oh my goodness, the wine glasses I have are to die.
The
Like
details. Are
hand
you a
blowing.
Libra by chance?
Oh yeah. I'm a Cancer, so I'm like super home based.
Okay. Okay.
Super, super home based. Oh my gosh, you know. And so the funny part, I would always laugh when I go to my friends' houses who were much bigger than mine. I always had the party. You know, the cocktail parties
Because
were
they're house
always,
poor.
yeah, yeah. It's like, here I am. I got the smallest house, and yet I seem to have all my friends here because
Because
I've
it's warm.
created this vibe, this
Mm-hmm.
feeling, because I love it. It's, you know, for me, home and aesthetics are one of my values.
Yeah.
But I also value not working all the time.
Yeah. And listen, as long as there's Wayfair and TJ Maxx, like you can make anything fabulous on a budget. I'm just saying.
I just got the most fabulous chair in Wayfair. Yes, 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 yes.
Definitely lighting fixtures on Wayfair. But then also there's like, you know, Facebook Marketplace or whatever. And I don't necessarily want to use Couch Now. I don't know if I want to put my face where somebody stranger's feet is, but you know, still an option if that's where you are at the moment. So
It's all about needs and wants, right? I mean, if I need furniture, I may want the $10,000 couch, but I need a beautiful, lovely, comfortable couch. And I can get
yes.
that need met for less than the designer price. But I got to name what I really need.
Yeah. And there's always couch covers. So there's that. But
Oh, there
so
is.
you a lot of my listeners, a lot of my customers are like me and they're neurodivergent. So I have ADD. So in addition to having some anxiety around the whole money relationship, I also have a very difficult time being consistent about things. And it like the harder or the more steps that are in it, like I'm out. If there's too many steps between what I want and getting there, I'm out. And so I use so much of that in the project management side of my business and taking care of my clients that when I get to my personal life, I'm empty. I don't have the attention span, the consistency to provide. You talk
Mhm.
about financial elegant simplicity.
Oh, I was just going to say it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So
Okay.
I have a lot of clients that have different versions of ADD and, you know, related things like that. And also so many of us nowadays are just so flippant busy
Yeah.
that, you know, exactly what you just said, right? So what I find is that a lot of people have way too many accounts. I mean, let's just
Yes.
get down to brass tacks, right? You know, they've got 3 checking accounts, and they've got 7 credit cards, and they've got 5 savings accounts, and of course it's at over 3 or 4 different banks, and some are brick and mortar and some are online, you know. And so when I start working with people, we draw out initially all their accounts,
Mhm.
checking, savings, credit cards. We get this picture of where all the money is flowing from this account to transfer to this account, and I pay out of this account, my mortgage. Oh my goodness. And
Yeah.
I say, no wonder you're stressed. No wonder you're anxious. So I'm a huge proponent of simplifying your finances. You need one checking account, you need one or two savings accounts, you need one credit card, right? And this elegant simplicity, we need fewer places to look online, fewer places to, transferring money around in like or tornado. Yes, do I want people to look at where they're spending their money? I do. I do. But if you have to look in 7 different places,
Yeah.
I don't want to look in 7 different places. And so sometimes I think that somewhere along the line, people felt if I'm this sophisticated professional person, that must equate to what, a lot of accounts or something. There's been a lot of advice out there. But
Well,
honestly,
and then you have like Michael Malkowicz. I've been on his podcast. He hasn't been on mine yet, but he has profit first and he wants you
yep.
to open up 9,000 bank accounts. And
Yeah, I gotta say, I disagree,
I
Michael.
disagree too.
I
I love
disagree.
him to death.
Oh yeah, it's
Conceptually, it
brilliant.
makes sense.
But most people cannot handle it.
Do
I
it in a
love
spreadsheet.
exactly. I love his concepts. He's a brilliant guy, and
Uh-huh.
all of those concepts can be handled through one spending plan.
Yeah.
One spending plan, right? So we need to simplify, because when you look at people that feel peaceful around money and don't have anxiety around money, and you look at like what commonalities do they have in common, it's actually not about how much money they make.
Mm-hmm.
It's about how elegantly simple their finances are, and they know where their money is coming and going.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, they got one checking account, one credit card they use, and a couple of personal savings accounts.
Yeah. I'm glad. Yeah. I think that's pretty much me. I have multiple cards, but I only really use one. Like the other ones kind of are just there to keep them open for the credit or whatever. But the one thing that I think a lot of women in business get caught up in is buying a new program or a new mastermind, or like they add all of these things to their business budget. And the bigger you get, the more you have, and the more tools in your tech stack and all that kind of stuff. And, simplify to amplify is something that Karis Moon has said to me a long time ago. She's a branding expert. And that really stuck with me. And I'm constant every single month. I'm like, what can I get rid of? Am I still using that? Can I get rid of that? Like, how can I put these 3 things into one thing? So it's one bill and one thing to keep up with.
I know, I'm totally with you. Barbara Hewson, she used to publish a lot under Barbara Stanny. She talks about how many business owners have SSA, serial seminar addicts.
Oh, yeah.
SSA, serial
Course
seminar
junkie.
Yeah, exactly. Another personal growth seminar, what's not to love. And the problem I see is because I do a lot of business. I'm a money coach that works with, women that are rocking it in midlife, and some are self-employed and some are not, right? But often the battle cry is it's deductible. So why wouldn't I get that personal growth seminar if I happen to be self-employed? It's deductible, right? Mm-hmm. But like you said, simplifying your life, simplifying your money, simplifying, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, it's like spandex.
So I have a long relationship with spandex, being a tango dancer, and I agree with you. I don't want to spandex.
Well, that's where I want to go next, because you make sure that you carve out time. You make sure that you carve out money. I've done dancing before. It ain't cheap.
Nope.
I mean, it's not like crazy expensive, but it is a hobby and a passion that requires money to fuel it if you want to, participate at that level. Tell me about that. Like, where does having a hobby or something that you're interested in, how does that help you financially?
Actually, this is one of my favorite topics. So I have decided to compete nationally at the National Tango Championship,
wow.
Which is, I'm so excited. My love, who I just literally got engaged to my tango partner. So love and tango.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
It's super fun. But why I think hobbies are so important is so many women that are in midlife have spent so much time taking care of everybody else,
Mhm.
right? And so your hobbies and your passions are all about you. And it's also about enjoying your current present life because, when you talk with people about money, a lot of times the money conversations are either about the past, pay off debt,
Yeah.
or they're about the future, retirement. But we don't live in the past and we don't live in the future. We live in the present. And so, hobbies and passions are a way of fully living and enjoying our life. I've got like a lot of clients, for example, that are huge horse riders,
Mm.
right? And that is a
That's a
very
really
expensive.
expensive habit.
It is, and Tango gets expensive once you're going to like, festivals and buying $200-300 shoes and working with private coaches and stuff like that. So it's also a great balancing act around, I want to earn money so that, and that's a great question for all your listeners to answer. I want to earn money so that what is your so that I can enjoy my current life. And part of my current life enjoyment is dancing, right? Is tango. And so I'm out of balance if I'm not spending, for me personally, a lot of time, in the dance studio. It's, as you know, as a dancer, it's also about health, right?
Yeah.
It's not all about money. It's all about being healthy. It's about my body. It's about
Enjoying exercise as opposed to laboring on a treadmill that's going to nowhere.
exactly. It's so much more fun to work out when it's got a reason and a purpose.
Yeah.
I want to rock it on the dance floor. Therefore, I will work the core.
Right. Yeah.
It's different than no, just work the core to be healthy, right? So, but the whole notion of protecting your hobbies. When I work with people on whether it's a monthly spending plan or an annual spending plan, one of the questions is, what do you want to protect? What do you want to protect? And so, if you want to protect your horse riding, maybe it means when push comes to shove that we need to wait on the new living room furniture.
Right.
And you're going to feel good about that if you're clear about what you want to protect and there's money for that. So it's a way of organizing priorities in your life.
And it doesn't feel like a takeaway. It feels
Exactly.
like it's not like a huge sacrifice, but it's, I am choosing this over this, as opposed to I just don't get this.
Exactly. Yeah, because that's back to dieting and that never feels good. If you're feeling deprived, that says that we haven't named what's really important to you and protected it.
I love that. Whoo, I feel like I talked to you all day because this is definitely, it's an, obviously an important topic for me personally. And I have had to coach some of my bombshells, and I'm not a financial coach. I don't even play one on TV. I don't try to be. But when I realize that they don't have a money plan, I'm like, we cannot do anything until you know what's happening in your money and your business. Like we cannot move forward because that is the source of anything that we're going to talk about. So like this is such an important piece. And even that we haven't even gotten into employed people necessarily. So maybe you'll have to come back and we'll have part 2, but yeah. It's for everyone. It impacts everyone. And especially as we're moving into like this scary recession that the media and everybody wants us to get all bent out of shape about. It's a cycle, guys. It's a cycle. Like I'm old enough to know I've seen a couple of these cycles before. We get through it. We get on the other side. You have abundance again and you save.
Absolutely.
And anyways, I would love to know, what is your parting piece of advice that is that last thing that you want a bombshell, a bold, brave, unwaveringly confident woman in business to walk away with from your brilliance today?
I'd say it's a 2-part answer. I want people to honor the fact that they're on a journey around money. And, it doesn't matter where you've been, you're here now. You have to believe this is the perfect time for you to look at and really transform your relationship to money. And I think that a piece of honoring the fact that you've had a really long, interesting journey with money, we all have. And so there has to be, in my opinion, a lot more financial forgiveness for ourselves, that we have to let go of past, when, we beat ourselves up ruminating on all our past money mistakes. But if you've never made some big whopping money mistakes, you're not living. Right. You're not living. We all know we've all earned our, what do we call it, the MBA of life. We all are doing the best that we can. So know that you're on a journey. You've got to forgive yourself for whatever you need to forgive yourself for in the past, and know that you're in the perfect time to really shift and transform how you feel about money, because you deserve a fabulous life.
I love it. Mikelann, I love you have this incredible power about you, like this just strength of presence.
Mm.
And at the same time, you have this calm and this ease about you. And those two things usually don't go together. And I'm just fascinated that that's how you show up. And I can imagine how safe your clients feel doing business with you. So I appreciate just
Well, thank you
immensely
for that.
showing
Yeah.
up for us in that same vein. I really, really do. So I have a feeling we're going to need to have you back on the show.
I know we just
There's
scratched
more.
the surface.
I
There's
know. That's
so
why I
much
feel
we can
like
talk
we're
about.
done already. There's so much more to go. So we'll have to have you back. Or maybe we can do like a webinar or something together. I don't know, but this is such great content. And Bombshell, I hope, find Mikelann online. She is a SeattleMoneyCoach.com. All of her social media handles are going to be in the show notes. She's on Facebook, Mikelann, and it's spelled like Mike, Mikelann, Mikelann Seattle Money Coach. On Instagram, she's on Seattle Money Coach. Twitter, she's at Mikelann. Seattle Money Coach for YouTube, also for Pinterest. And then Mikelann Valterra, we'll just put all that is her LinkedIn. So definitely want to connect with her. This is information that you need daily. So following her is going to put this at top of mind for you, which is helpful for those of us who need to be reminded that we need to tend to our finances, right?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Yeah. And like I said, I work with women that are just rocking it in midlife, but this money piece is the piece that's stressing them out. So, if people listening are stressed, I would just encourage them to grab a discovery call with me. I have clients all over the world. So just go to Seattle Money Coach and book a free discovery call, and we'll hopefully figure out in 20 minutes what is stressing you about money so that we can start making some shifts and you can feel better.
Yeah, I have a feeling you probably are just like scorpion laser, like you go right to that.
Yeah.
You probably have seen enough to know exactly what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Book your discovery call and be like, get a cup of coffee, because here we go. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I tell people. I'm going to pierce your soul. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. No
Bombshell, make sure you follow Mikelann. Make sure that you give this, if you're on YouTube, like it, share it, leave the reviews, do all that kind of stuff I always ask you to do, because when that happens, then more bombshells can find this, and then we get to help more people. I don't really do commercials. This is my love gift to you, and the people who are on the show, our guests, are just so generous with their time. And so this is for you. This is my gift to womankind. And the more women that we can impact, the better. So please, please, please share. And we will see you on the next episode.